Hello Megamaniacs, and welcome back to the Mr. MegaManFan channel with some new video games that just arrived in the mail. Thought I would open up these packages and show you what my new pickups are and then test each of these games. So not a full-length retro hunting adventure type episode, but another one of the Minisodes, if you will. Just a couple of things today, starting with Kirby's Epic Yarn. Yes, I've been on a Kirby kick of late because I realized there were only a few that I didn't have, so oddly enough, the Nintendo Wii was one of those areas that I had overlooked. I had been so thorough about everything else that ever had a Kirby game on Nintendo that for some reason I just never did it on the Wii, but now I've finally knocked that out of the box, and this disc looks great, so I'm sure it'll work, but I will test that momentarily. We've got another package to open, and you'll notice that for this video I broke out the scissors, since in the last video I had so much trouble tearing open the package by hand. It was so well sealed that I thought I better just not even try this time. I'll just have the scissors ready and waiting when the mail arrives, and we'll go at it from that perspective. Turned out to be a good decision too, as you'll see here momentarily, because I cut this one open and thought, okay, now I can pull out the game, and there's another package inside. It's a package inside a package inside a package. It's Inception. What kind of Christopher Nolan Inception stuff is this? I'm going deeper, Leo. So we cut open the second package, and then I really had to tug on this one. It didn't want to come out, and perhaps that was the spirit of the angry video game nerd possessing it, because it's Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue, one of the 20 or so Nintendo 64 games that I didn't already have. So knocking another one off the list. Going to get down to those ones that I really don't want to buy because they're going to be stupid, and by stupid I mean moneda. But let's go ahead and test these. And now we're in the back of the game room with the Nintendo Wii and the Nintendo 64. Very old school systems set up on a very high definition television. Let's go ahead and put in Kirby's Epic Yarn and make sure it reads. Well, I'd call that a good sign, but just to be on the safe side, let's actually do a little bit of gameplay footage, because sometimes the opening cinematic to a game will work, but the disc will be scratched and the actual gameplay won't work, or vice versa. You have to just push yourself into it a little bit, even though you're probably only going to sit down for a minute or two to test it because you got other things to do, and you won't really be able to play it fully until you're off work. So that's what I'm doing right now. This is the short version of making sure it's a good game, and then a longer time later to actually sit down and enjoy a Kirby title, which is the other reason I decided to knock out the remaining Kirby titles that I didn't have, because I can't think of any Kirby title that I've ever owned that I didn't have fun playing. Even some of the really weird ones like Kirby Block Ball and Kirby's Pinball Land on the Game Boy. I thought those were excellent games too. Well, excellent might be overstating it, but enjoyable. I prefer the 2D platforming Kirby style games. Those have always been my favorite, but it seems to me like whatever kind of game Kirby ends up in, it usually works out to at least be enjoyable, sometimes really good, on occasion just outright excellent. But don't let me be the one to explain that to all of you. Check out Ant Dude, ANTDUDE. He's like the resident Kirby expert on YouTube, and he will tell you whether or not a Kirby game is worth playing, because I would definitely bow to his knowledge on all things Kirby when it comes to that. So I'm going to consider this one completely successfully tested now, because the actual gameplay appears to be functioning just fine. So working disc, working intro, working game, working everything. I think we can move on to let's just say James Rolfe didn't have nice things to say about this game. I don't think he thought it was the worst Power Rangers game, but it definitely wasn't the best. This is the part where I'll admit to you that because I'm a kid of the late 70s and the 1980s for the most part, I really don't know the Power Rangers franchise other than videos like The Angry Video Game Nerd. I understand that it's a series from Japan that got reshaped and cut and re edited into an American kids' TV show, but I also understand there's been dozens and dozens of seasons of it that span far beyond the mangled version the United States received. So it's actually a completely different show over there compared to over here. But if it weren't for the Angry Video Game Nerd, I would really know nothing about this. And that's probably why this is one of those games that I had never actually picked up until I realized I was almost at the tail end of my Nintendo 64 collection, because I really had no reason to. I had no interest in the Power Rangers. I think unless you were a kid in the 90s, like I say I was a kid of the late 70s and 80s, which means like I was 6 years old in June of 1980. So most of my childhood was the 1980s, but I got a start in the 70s. So I imagine for a Power Rangers fan, it would probably be similar to that. Like if you were a kid of the 90s, late 90s, and then the 2000s, Power Rangers is probably right in your wheelhouse, because this is a game from the year 2000. But if you weren't, you probably aren't familiar with Power Rangers just like I am, and you have no idea other than watching videos by the Angry Video Game Nerd. So I can see why he wasn't a huge fan of this game, because all I'm doing is running around cleaning up slime. Isn't that fascinating? And it won't even let me do anything else until I clean up this city. So what is this, Toxic Avenger or Power Rangers? You tell me, because I think I'm done. This proves it's a tested and working game. So that's it for this minisode. I'm Mr. Mega Man Fan, and I'll see you all next time. Peace out.